Hi, welcome back to another video, guys. As you guys are well aware of, if you well, by the time you get these videos, you're gonna understand why I haven't been posting any content. I have not been posting any content because I was banned by YouTube for violating their medical policy, and I did it inadvertently. I didn't do it on purpose. I understand what the medical policy is. If you speak against the V word, the little thing that they put in your arm, if you say anything against that, that's an automatic red flag. And I guess in my speaking, I accidentally said something that must have tripped up the algorithm to have them focus on what I was saying, and then they gave me a third strike, and that's where we are. But I'm still making content. You just guys just don't see it, but you will see it this coming Monday. This is the 22nd of February, Thursday. So I should be back on by Monday. And yeah, that's where we are at right now. I didn't know censorship was that serious, but I guess it is. I never thought that a person as relatively insignificant as I am would cause that much of a uproar to have a huge, massive social media engine to pinpoint my word usage and then target me and take me off. And free speech isn't so free after all. And I'm learning the hard way. But I say all that to say this. I really didn't have a direction of what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to, get some things off of my chest. And I want you guys to have a deeper, or to possess sort of a deeper meaning or a deeper insight as to why I am the way I am. And I'm a Nigerian. Both parents are Nigerian. I was born here in the States, went to Nigeria when I was like 2 years old, stayed there till about 8 years old, came back to the States when I was eight. So I do recall, I do have a memory of that past time when I was younger. And um, I just remember the hardships of what my parents had to go through. I mean, in hindsight, I mean, now that I'm older, I can reflect back and understand what they were going through because I'm a parent now. I have three kids of my own. But when you're young, you're not thinking about any hardships. You're just trying to figure out the world. You're just coming into an age of acknowledgement. You're coming into your age of consciousness, and you're starting to develop who you are and exploring your environment and exploring your surroundings. And there's no fear in you as a child. You have a limitless mindset, which is why parents have to oftentimes reel their kids back in from getting into dangerous situations, because when you're young, you're in that exploration stage. And usually, most of the harder lessons that we learn growing up is through experience, whether it's through you falling off of a chair or falling off of a I don't know, falling off of something, climbing cabinets, climbing dressers. Things have to happen to you, unfortunately, for you to learn lessons. And I mean, there could be. I mean, parents could speak to their blue in the face and tell you, don't do this, stop that, stop that. But kids are going to do what kids do, and it's our job as parents to make sure that we save those kids or save our kids from themselves. So my upbringing was in the sense that great in the sense that not great by the metrics in which society measures it, because people would say a great childhood is if you having all the things you needed, both parents wealthy, being sent to the great schools. But I say my childhood was great because I was able to experience certain things that molded me into the person that I am today. I call it great because hindsight allows me to say that. Reflecting, having a reflective mindset, being able to kind of look at certain things that I saw shaped me. Um, that's why I really believe that the law of duality, the law of opposites, and the law of attraction is heavily at play. We try so hard in our lives to evade the negative things, and we oftentimes try to protect our children from things or expose them to things that they're not ready to see. And I'm not going to be the one here, the adult here, to say that you need to purposely and intentionally put your kids in negative situations so they can learn. But I believe that the spirit of the ancestors are always trying to protect us. And I believe that sometimes parents are put into a situation where they're doing the best that they can. And no matter how hard they try to shield their kids from certain ills, their kids are still exposed to it. But I think in those moments is when something that's outside of our control and something that's outside of our locus of control gets implanted into the situation where it takes on a whole different dynamic on its own. We can't explain it. I can't explain why a kid grows up with in a two-parent household, given everything that he or she wants, and they still grow up to be wrecks. They still grow up to be scum. But then you have a kid that grows up with hardly nothing but grows up to be great. I mean, how do we decipher that dichotomy? How do we explain that? It's inexplicable. You can't explain it because it's not left up to you as the parent to dictate the kind of future your child's going to have. I believe that if you're doing your best, then that is good enough. It's when you know better and you do less. That's when it becomes a law against the galaxy or a law against the universe. So for instance, if I know better and I choose not to do better, then that's an indictment on my own soul. And my progeny, who I produce, will suffer the sins of me, the father. So now look at my parents and the things that they dealt with, whether it was their fault or not. I knew that they did the best that they could because they were always working hard. My parents weren't lazy. I inherited the idea of hard work from them. And my dad actually transitioned at work. He didn't go to a party. He didn't go clubbing. He didn't go doing drugs. He wasn't shot during a drug deal. No, my dad was making an honest living. He wasn't making much, but he went to work and he transitioned. He had a argument with his manager. My dad was a very passionate man, hot-tempered. He would get mad very easily, quick-tempered, and he already had health issues in terms of, he smoked cigarettes for many years, but he did quit on his own. He drank alcohol for many years, but he did quit. But the damage had already been done. His eating habits weren't the best. High salt intake and all that stuff. So that you can understand why I am the way I am today, why I'm big on health, because I saw what health did to my own father. And he transitioned at an early age, in his mid-40s. I think he was 45, 46 years old. So that was here in the States. I was about 15 at that time. So I say that to say this, that they did the best that they could. And I remember when I was young in elementary school, this time my dad was alive. And I remember that I would come home from school and the kids would make fun of me, I know the things that kids did back then. I mean, you would be in prison now. Everything you do nowadays is bullying. If you look at a kid a certain way, they don't like it, they go report you. He's bullying me. Everything is bully, bully, bully. We've overused that term. Growing up, the time that I grew up, bullying was just par for the course. Like, that's what you got into. I mean, survival of the fittest. You have to grow up. You have to understand how to navigate the social strata, the social environment of the school. You have to understand who I can be around and who I cannot be around. Who am I safe to be with? Who are my good friends? And you had to, if you were a person that was the victim of what they call bullying, you would have to learn how to circumvent that situation. You would have to learn how to go around it. That's what helped us become wiser. That's what gave us that self-preserving skill to preserve ourselves. I mean, there was just so many times that you would allow the bully to beat you up. Eventually, you have to start fighting back. That built a degree of resolve. But I think when we've put a lot of emphasis on bullying, we've inadvertently and ironically removed the incentive to struggle. Struggle is a skill. Struggle is a lost art. It's a virtue, and in any ecosystem, whether it's talking about bioorganisms or anything, there's always an element of prey and predator. I've talked about this before in a previous video, and when you learn to overcome those things, and you will, because the human gene, in and of itself, proves that when you are in a state of survival mode, there's something that happens to you from a biochemical perspective that your body starts to galvanize all the energy that it needs to actually survive. Things that you thought were impossible become possible. You remember that saying of, the mother who has a trapped child underneath the car, and all of a sudden she gets the superhuman strength to lift up the vehicle to get her child because of the angst, the panic, the desperation, the will to survive, the will to preserve that child that's underneath that car, that's trapped underneath that vehicle. Something happens to that woman that she musters the energy to move the vehicle just enough to allow the child to evade the trap that would have inevitably killed the child. I say that to say this, that when you try to remove every obstacle in a child's life, you weaken the child. You're not doing the child any good. As a matter of fact, you're doing the child a great disservice. So when I grew up, bullying was just the norm. Whether you either were the bully or you were the victim of it. That's just the way it was. And you had to find your niche. And my niche was just being athletic. My niche was sports. I understood that I had a heavy accent when I first came back from Nigeria. I didn't speak the way I speak now, of course. You can tell that I wasn't from this country because I had a heavy accent. And kids would make fun of me. My uncle would give me a haircut back then. It was called a chili bowl. I know you guys know what that is. It's almost like you put a bowl on your head and you just cut around it. Everything here was bald. And I just had hair on top. It wasn't even faded. But I didn't know any better. I was a little kid. I just thought, hey, I have a haircut. But when I went to school, the kids reminded me that, hey, you don't have a haircut, you have a chili bowl. And they made fun of me with that, but I didn't take it to heart. I was just confused. I'm like, okay, I guess this is not a haircut that they like. This is not a haircut that's fashionable here. So of course I would go home and tell my dad what was going on. And I would get made fun of my shoes. I remember when I was in middle school, and back then they had shoes from Payless called Pro Wings. I don't know if you guys remember that. They were called Pro Wings. And every kid knew back then what Pro Wings looked like, because if you were the kid with Pro Wings on, you were gonna be made fun of. I mean, that was just part of it. And I happened to be one of the kids with Pro Wings on. Again, my parents, we just came from Nigeria. They sold everything they had. They sold everything that they had to come here, so we didn't have anything. We stayed in a 2-bedroom apartment. My parents slept on the floor with a blanket. Me and my brother had a bunk bed, and my sister had like a queen size bed next to us. So all three of us were bunched in one room. And I remember, I think the rent was like, I forgot what the rent was back then, but it was nothing like it is today. So I would come home. I'm like, Dad, they're making fun of me. They're making fun of my shoes. They said I had Pro Wings. My dad was like, are they making fun of you? And he would hear me, but I didn't think that he would do anything about it. I just said, well, let me just let him know what's going on. Okay. And this wasn't some silent cry for him to get me better shoes, because I knew that money was tight. Even at a young age, I understood. I was cerebral enough to see that other people had more than we did, but I knew that we had just enough. All right. And I knew that my dad wanted more for us, but he just could not supply that. Now, what father doesn't want their child to dress up well? Parents they're doing the best that they can. That's why I started off with this, saying that if you are a parent doing the best that you can with what you have, the ancestors will honor that, and your kids will be well off, because there's an energy that's being transferred from you to that child when you're giving your best. You don't see it, but from an epigenetic perspective, from a quantum physics perspective, from an energy transfer perspective, from a frequency perspective. Oh, your child is receiving those frequencies and those vibrations. You just don't see it because you want to see the material. You want to see it materialize in the physical realm. In the third dimensional reality that we live in, you want to see it materialize. But even if you don't see it materialize, but you're doing your best, the ancestors, the spirit of the ancestors will honor that, and your child will be well. So I would come home, tell my dad that. So I remember one day my dad was like, okay, God, come on, let's go to Foot Locker. I'm going to get you some shoes. And I remember we got to Foot Locker. At this time, I'm like 11 years old. I believe, yeah, hold on. I'm trying to think here. 11 or 12, I can't remember. And we're in Foot Locker. And my dad was like, get the shoe you want. And at that time, I think British Knights was like the popular shoe back then. And I was like, I want to get the British Knights. Yeah, I want to get the British Knights. Yeah, I'm going to be in, I already have a messed up haircut, but once I get my haircut fixed and my shoe game right, and I could blend in, So I said to myself, my dad was like, get the shoe that you want. Find it, get it. So I was like, okay. I got the shoe. I saw the price. It said $110. Now, folks, listen to me. Back then, $110 was a lot for a pair of shoes. That would be equivalent to buying shoes today. That's like over $200. And I still had money sense. I saw that. I'm like, nah. In my head, I was like, nah, hell no. It's not happening. My dad was like, get it. I looked at my dad. I know how hard my dad worked. I said, no, I don't want it. Take me to Payless. I'll get the Pro Wings. Now, I'm going to tell you why I did that. Hold on for a second. I'll tell you why I did that. Hold on. All right. So, I was like, no, I don't want the shoe. He was like, no, go get it. I said, no. Now, mind you, I'm 11, 12 years old. And at that time, I want to do anything. I want to do everything that I can to fit in. But that's what I'm telling you guys as parents, or if you're not a parent, or just whatever you're doing in life. When you're giving your best, and even if your best is not good enough, it is good enough. Because my parents did the best that they could, and I saw that. And I knew them doing the best that they can. The fact that my dad was willing to actually take me to Foot Locker, and he was actually willing to pay. Remember, back then, my dad was working at a thrifty, a car rental place at the time. Now, mind you, my dad was a man who had 2 master's degrees. He was a very intelligent man. It's just that he just couldn't find a job here with a thick African accent. The educational system back there in Nigeria, and the education system here, it's almost like he had to start all over. So, I mean, he had to get a job. I mean, you got to pay the bills. So he got a job where he can. I remember his paychecks were like a little bit over $500 every 2 weeks, I believe, something like that. So here a man was willing to spend 1/5 of his paycheck on a pair of shoes for his son because his son came home complaining that people were making fun of him. Now, like I told you before, my intentions was never for him to get me shoes. I just wanted him to know what was going on at school. So in case something happened, maybe if I got into a fight, if I got in trouble, or if something happened, he would have some kind of idea of what's going on, or have the full context of, okay, my son is being probably harassed by kids, so I understand why he had to do this. Because if I got in trouble in school, my dad was going to wear me out at home. He was a very strong disciplinarian. So when he took me to Foot Locker, he was like, get the shoe. I said, no. I was like, no, it's okay, Dad. I literally told him, we'll go to Payless. I get the Pro Wings. My dad, he was shocked. He looked at me like, I said, no, I don't want it. And he tried a couple of more times to get me to get it. I still stuck to it and said no. And you guys are probably thinking, wow, I mean, you had the chance to get the shoe. See, even at a young age, I was not, even though I wanted to fit in. But see, it's hard to explain because 100% of me wanted to fit in. But 100% understood the hard work that my parents put in to what we had. Every little thing that we had, even the apartment, the 2-bedroom apartment, the beds that we had, the little TVs we had, any little thing we had, I knew how hard they had to work for that. I wasn't going to allow my dad to do that. But the fact that I knew that he was willing to do it was all I needed. Take me to Payless. I'll get the Pros. I'll eat that. I'll eat it. I'll eat the shame. I'll eat the kids making. I'll have to eat it. Make fun of me all you want. I just have to eat it. And I did. They got me to pay the Pro Wings, the Word to School. That I made fun of. But them making fun of me didn't hit me as it did before, because now I knew that, if I wanted to get those shoes that you guys have, I could. I made a choice not to. So I felt empowered. I felt more empowered than them because I didn't feel like I was a slave to the material system. I didn't feel like I needed to get that to feel secure within. Just knowing that I had the ability to get it, but make the choice not to, gave me the type of empowerment that I had over them. See, they felt like they needed to get that so they could be in the in crowd of the kids that had the nice name brand clothes and the name brand shoes. But I said to myself, but hey, I had a choice. I made a choice not to do that. So in my head, internally, I felt more powerful than them. And even though they made fun of me and I didn't like it, it's not like I was walking around like happy about them making fun of me, but it allowed me to absorb the ridicule. It allowed me to absorb the name calls, even at that young age. Now, the way I'm explaining it now, I couldn't explain it then. Being an older man, I could actually reflect and tell you what was going on in my head, because it's hard back then to ask me as an 11 or 12-year-old to explain why I said no to my dad to get me those shoes. Because I wouldn't be able to articulate that to you. All I would be able to say is, and that's what I told my dad. He was like, why? I said, oh, it's okay. But it was the price was too high. But to elaborate on why I wouldn't allow my dad to pay for it, I wouldn't be able to do that. All I can just tell you is that the price was too high. It's not worth it. In my limited vocabulary at that time, I would just say it's not worth it. Just go back to getting me the normal shoes that you normally get me. And that's what he did. But now that I'm older, I can look back at that and tell you why I did what I did and why I was able to eat the insults and eat the ridicule and it not affect me. It affected me before, though. I'm not going to lie to you. Initially, I'm like, man, these shoes that I have on, is it that serious? I'm like, goodness. They look good. I like them. They're comfortable. But just because they don't have a certain name on it, I'm being made fun of? I didn't like that. But knowing that my dad had the chance to do it and get it for me. But I said no. I made a choice. There's power in making a choice. It's much easier to make a choice that everybody's making. Go along with the get along. I did it. I was 11, 12 years old, folks. That's when peer pressure is tough. I just came from a different country in 3rd grade. So I'm trying to find my place in the Americas here. I don't talk like anybody else. I don't look like a lot of my friends. I got made fun of because of my skin color. Because my skin was, now you see the way my skin is now with all these spots I have, these blemishes that I have. I don't know where these came from. But my skin used to be darker than this, much darker. Over the years, for some reason, I've gotten lighter. But I was much darker than this. I would get made fun of. But, and my dad was shocked. And my mom, they talked about that. I didn't know what they said, but later on, my mom told me they were shocked that I did that. They were like, what kind of son are we raising? What got into him? I thought that he wanted that. But they couldn't even understand why I said no. But that's what I'm telling you guys. It's not what you say as a parent or as a person. It's what you do when people are watching your actions. I saw how hard my parents worked, man. Why would I allow that? Now, some kids don't have that ability to do that. They're so selfish that they're willing to marginalize the hard work that their parents put in terms of gaining a supplemental income. They're willing to marginalize that to get what they want, because that's a society we've built today. But I think that the upbringing I had living in Nigeria commingled with the upbringing I had continuing when we came back to America. I had a cerebral mindset. I saw how hard it was over there in Nigeria, but I saw how content people were. I saw how happy people were. I saw true joy, not based upon material possessions. I saw true joy emanating from bonding, emanating from having synergistic relationships. Joy coming from the presence of the human aura. Joy from being outdoors. Joy from smelling the grass. Just things that we take for granted because we're all locked into these boxes. And anytime you're locked into a box or into a square building, there's no energy being emitted. The power of a circle is very important. Being out underneath the sun, circle. Underneath the moon, circle. Being underneath the earth in nature, circle. Your eyes, circular or oval. Receiving those shapes. People die, they get put in a box. You go to jail, you get put in prison, you're in a square cell. Energy is dead in a box. So the things that I saw in Nigeria, the things that I experienced being there, allowed me to have a wider range of thoughts that wasn't afforded to a kid that grew up here. Because if a kid grew up here, that's all they knew was here. I had the advantage of knowing both sides, and I was able to find my happy medium. So I understood the power of choice. So when I make commentary and I give my personal analysis on things, I'm always trying to think, not even trying to think, I naturally think outside the box, but the challenge I have is to convey the message to an audience that can understand where I'm coming from, where you guys don't automatically say that I'm a hater or I'm this or I'm this or that. Like I'm trying to give out a message where there's no room for name calling. The only thing that I can do is plant the seed of thought, make you think critically, and have you come back with questions so we can actually dialogue and grow from one another. Not say that I know it all, because there's certain comments that people make on my channel. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that, and I absorb that. I take that in. We're all one, folks. We all come from source, as I've always said. We're just living our reality from source. Source being the creator of the entire universe and the entire multiverse. That source is living out its reality through many physiological consciousness, many physiological bodies experiencing its consciousness through us. So how does source know how to feel like me? Well, he's living in me. Or it's living in me, it's living in you. So if I shun your opinion, if I marginalize your opinion because I think you're dumb, that it's not worthy of me actually considering, then I'm shunning myself. Because we're all part of the same source, and it's up to us to actually uphold each other's views. Doesn't mean we have to agree with each other's views. There's a difference. It means that we have to actually consider it, look at it, because it came from a sentient being. It came from a person who took the time to actually write their thoughts down. As long as they're not insulting you, as long as they write a message that's coherent and you're able to decipher the message that's written, and if you can do that, then that message is worthy for you to actually dissect it, to say, okay, what is this person saying? And then if I don't understand what they're saying, I can ask a question to get clarity. And once I get clarity, I can actually have a response that's predicated on being informed off of what they said. This is the ebb and flow of communication. Sender to receiver, receiver sends message back. The messenger who initiated the message becomes the receiver. It goes back and forth. That's what we call synergy. And that's what I aim to do when I make my videos. I try to render the message in a way that doesn't fit into the status quo. I try not to have emotional responses, because emotion will rob you of logic. Now, it's good to have emotion, but don't respond off of the emotion. Take the emotion, harness it, control it, and allow logic to kind of groom it, to groom that emotion. And then once you put that emotion in its right state, then you can start actually making sense from your emotion, but not being too emotional. Because most of the things we do, if not all of the things we do, comes from emotions. If you're depressed, you act out certain ways. If you're happy, you act out certain ways. But depression and happiness are both in the spectrum of the emotions that you can have. They fall underneath that spectrum of emotions that we have as human beings. So I've always been a thinker. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make and that's how it's always been. So once I made that choice not to get those shoes, it allowed me to have power that day. And ever since then, when I would go to school and there would be, let's say there's a fight. Now all the kids would run in the cafeteria, all the kids would run towards the fight. I would get up and go the opposite way. No one taught me that. My parents never sat me down and say, when there's a fight in school, when everybody is fighting, I want you to run the other way. No, it was just, I don't even call it common sense. I prided myself on being able to make the choice that normal people couldn't make. When normal people acted out impulsively, I challenged myself to act in a way that was not impulsive. Okay, give you an example. Impulsivity is, I hear people arguing and fighting, okay? The natural response is to be curious, okay? Let's use the politically correct term. I don't want to say nosy because nosy has a negative connotation to it, so I'm going to say curious. Curiosity is something that we all have within us. So the curious gene or the curious trait in us provokes us to say, hey, go out there and see what's going on. Do you know how hard it is as a middle schooler to see 99.9% of the student body running in one direction to see something and for me to walk the opposite way? Do you know how hard that is to do? You have to train yourself for that. It's called discipline. But no one taught me that. I told myself, since I'm going to be different, oh, you think I'm different? Oh, I'll show you I'm different. Oh, you think I'm different because I speak differently from you? Oh, you're calling me an African booty scratcher? You're making fun of my haircut because I have a chili bowl. You're making fun of my accent. You're making fun of my skin color. And to be honest with you, I didn't even like myself. I remember when we had announcements in school, and they would pick morning announcements. They would pick like 3 kids from each class to do an announcement. And it happened to be our turn that day. They had us in the library, and we were on camera. It was I remember like it was yesterday. Stovall Middle School. Sydney was a light-skinned kid, athletic. All the ladies loved him. Mauricio was a Hispanic kid, athletic as well. Then it was me. I remember the camera was on us. Now, I don't understand. I don't know what these cameras are made with, but I looked extra crispy, man. I looked like this phone. Like see how black my beard is? I looked that black. The camera came to me and I kind of ducked out of the way. I'm like, damn, I'm black today. like I became black that day. Like, I was already dark, but the camera made me darker. And I didn't like my image. So I was like, oh, I don't want to see myself. And I could hear the entire school laughing when they came on, when they panned on me. But from 3rd grade, when I came back from Nigeria, I was used to being made fun of. I just accepted the fact that I was not an attractive guy. At an early age, I already accepted the fact that I'm not a person that women or guys are going to look at and say, oh, this is a good looking guy. So if you want to talk about my self-esteem growing up, my self-esteem was low, but you would never tell. You would never tell it was low. So what did I do with that? With low self-esteem and having the power of choice, being empowered by making choices, instilling in myself a discipline that would make me different from everybody else. Because I figured that if I'm going to be different, right? If you're going to make fun of me for being different, then I'm going to embrace and wear my difference. I'm going to wear that thing that's unique and different from everybody else. I'm going to embrace it and take it and use it as power to empower myself. So rather than me getting the shoes that everybody has, I made the choice not to. Rather than running where everybody's running to see the fight, I made a choice not to. Okay? So that's the way it was throughout middle school, played sports, high school. And now, I didn't look the way I look now. Like these spots you see on my face, they used to call me, I forgot the name they used to call me. They used to call me smooth chocolate. Like my skin was so smooth. I don't know what happened. Till today, I still try to figure. I don't know if this was vitiligo. No, it was not vitiligo because vitiligo is not like this. I don't know what this is. So whatever challenges I had growing up in terms of my self-esteem and not looking at myself in a high regard, it became worse after, because these spots started to come when I was like around 19, 20. They start to come on my head, then they start to come on my forehead, start to spread. So that was a challenge because I'm like, oh wow, now I really have a reason not to feel very good for myself, At least I had a little bit of compliments back then, but now I was like, wow, look at my face. So high school was fun. I played sports, and that's how I got known. I played basketball. I could shoot the ball pretty well. I wasn't gonna go to the NBA or nothing. I'm not like six. I'm only like six. I'm about 6'2". I'm not like extremely tall. I'm not like 6'7", 6'8". But I had like a nerve injury in high school. I couldn't walk for like 3 days. I was in a wheelchair. My senior year, I couldn't play because my nerves in my leg never got back to normal. All sorts of weird stuff happened to me, man. But this is not a sob story for you to feel sorry for me at all. No, I'm fine. But I just want you guys to understand the journey that I've had and those hallmark moments in my life, those milestones that I had things happen to me that shaped me. I remember in high school, my freshman year, and this is before my dad transitioned. Actually, he transitioned in my freshman year in high school. I remember we had basketball tryouts, and we're freshmen, right? So freshmen, we get treated like crap. We're just freshmen. We're not upperclassmen. So the basketball trials wasn't going to be something that was going to be held private where coaches are going to be looking at your skill set. It wasn't like that. They had every athlete in the gym that day. Track, football, any sport you played, all the athletes were in the gym that day because it was getting closer to dismissal time. And that's when they were trying to fit in the tryouts. They were almost trying to rush the tryouts to see who could make the basketball team. And at that time, I was just hitting my growth spurt. I had what you guys would call a little bit of man boobs, I guess. They weren't like big, but they were kind of like drooping. I still had like my chubbiness on me. And I remember the coach lined us up, not lining us up like behind each other, but like we were lined up like horizontally, not like one behind another, but side to side. So he went by, and I remember this like it was yesterday, like a movie. He was like, it was like now I see why those movies slow it down because you're like my worst nightmare is about to come true. The coach was like, we're about to play skins versus shirts. You guys know about that back then, skins versus shirts. So the coach was like, shirts, skin, shirts, skin. And what are the odds that by the time they get to me, it's going to be skin? I'm like, no. So when it got to me, it was like skin. I was like, oh no, I got to take off my shirt in front of all these people. Now, when I went to school back then as a freshman, I would wear like double shirts. I would wear like a beater, a t-shirt, and my shirt, just to make sure that the print of my chest doesn't show. Because if it showed, it would give off that I had like man boobs a little bit, right? So I'm like, man, I could play basketball. I'm really good at it. Oh my God, I gotta take off my shirt. Mind you, all the athletes are in the gym. The gym is packed. I take off my shirt. The whole gym. Black titty baby! Black titty! I mean, it was almost like that movie. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, The Rage of Carrie. Remember that when they were like, they're all gonna laugh at you. They're all gonna laugh at you. And remember, she goes crazy in her power. She starts to like just destroy everybody and kill everybody because she gets crazy. She's supposed to be like the daughter of the devil or something like that. I felt like that movie. Not that I felt like hurting people, but I felt the enormity of everybody just laughing at me and pointing. I had to try out with my chest out. I made the team. Make a long story short, but it was so embarrassing to have the whole gym laughing at me. All the girls, what? A freshman in high school, you may have a girl that you have a crush on, and she just sees you, and you're like, oh my God, like I'm totally trash now. I'm like, oh my God. So after tryouts, man, I quickly run to the locker room. I put on my shirt, and as I'm running, kids are wicked, man. Kids are wicked. They're running after me, pointing at me, making fun of me as I'm trying to put on my shirt. And at that time, I think my sister, I was a freshman, so my sister, I believe I think she had already graduated, I believe, from high school. I think she was the first year of U of H. I think she had the car, because I think we had bought her a car. It was a Geo Prism. It's a purple Geo Prism. And she came to pick me up from school. So when she came, I took the back way. Like I didn't even walk the front way I normally walk for car riders. I ran around the whole school to hide from everybody because I felt like the whole school was making fun of me, man. It was horrible. I had tears pouring down my eyes. I'm just running. So I get to the car. I just hop in. I jump in, throw my bag in there, put the seat back, go all the way back. I'm laying flat in the front. I'm like, go, 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 drive, drive. My sister's like, what? I'm not driving. Everybody's making fun of me. Drive, 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 drive. So she drives off, and I went home, man. I mean, I didn't share the story with my parents because I felt like it's already embarrassing enough. So, but that was also a pivotal moment in my life too, because I got made fun of because of my body. All right. So today I feel like if you don't like your body, you can do something about it. You can control it. See, there's certain things that are within everyone's locus of control, and there's certain things that are not. Like, I can't control my skin color. I can't control my accent. I can't control my ancestry. I can't control that I'm a Nigerian. I can't change it. I would never change that. I'm proud of who I am. But in terms of my body, that's how I became what I am. That's why I work out the way I work out. That's why I'm very disciplined with my diet. You can't tell my physique just sitting down, but all those kids that were making fun of me then, I can assure you that if you show them now, if they showed them and me today, they would be the butt of everyone's joke. It's not me. But like I said, those moments, but they're kids. I don't blame them. They're kids. Like, kids do what kids do. Kids are me. It is what it is. Some kids are not, but for the most part, kids are going to laugh. And most kids are followers. If everybody's laughing, everyone's going to just join in the laughter and point and make fun of kids. I don't hold anything personal against anybody that laughed at me that day, but I think it was something that I needed to go through. And it's what motivated me to be a gym rat. It's what motivated me to be very disciplined in my eating. Even my dad's death, he's transitioning. I hate to use the word death because energy never really dies. I believe in souls transitioning to another higher state or a lower plane. I don't believe that death is the end of it. It may be the cessation of life, but it's not the cessation of energy, because energy never truly dies. Because if we truly died, then that means source is dead. As long as source is still here, the creator of the universe is still here, then that means that even if we that's why I call it transitioning. I don't call it death. So when my dad transitioned, that was also a pivotal moment in my life as well. So I took that, I absorbed it, I ate it, and I learned to take. That's why a lot of the times I tell you guys that I don't take when people write comments about negative things. I don't look at it as negative. I just look at it as part of the universe. Like, you need that, and you use that as fuel. You have to use that as energy to be better. And even when I get praise, I accept the praise too. You need a balance. I'm not going out seeking negative news all the time, but I think that we also have to be able to be mature enough to take the good with the bad. So those were pivotal moments, having the whole gym make fun of you. So I remember I would go back to visit my friends in the north side where I lived, and I would see some of those high school students. This is when I was like in my mid-20s. I would see some of them. I'm like, wow, look at the way they look now. Like, you guys really made a lot of fun of me back then, but look at you now. But I never told them that. I kept that in my head because it was always like the revenge of the nerd kind of thing. Like, I'm the one you made fun of then, but you're the one that's looking real bad now, So it's not how you start the race, it's how you finish. But those things motivated me. I never thought of myself as the most handsome guy. My self-esteem wasn't high, it was low. But I think those were good things. I think it was good for me to have low self-esteem because it allowed me to appreciate every little good thing that I had. Everything that I had to work for. I was born with a K leg. It's something they call a K leg. Is instead of your legs being straight, your knees knock and your lower legs stick out. They call it a K leg because it's not bow-legged. Because bow-legged is more like your legs are rounded. My knees knocked. It's not knocked me when I'm not pigeon-toed. My legs are straight. My feet are straight on the ground. But because my knees are touching, my legs stick out. You guys know Kenny Smith. You guys have seen Kenny Smith on TV, right? On TNT, right? My legs were like that. How his legs are like, how his knees seem like they're rubbing. But as a young age, mine was so bad that I couldn't even run around. I had to get braces put on my legs as a kid to straighten out my legs. I remember my uncle would just strap that thing on. I'd be crying. I would have to go to sleep with that thing. It was an uncomfortable brace, but I had to wear that to straighten out my leg. So I've always had some type of issue with me. And yeah. So all those moments in my life, I think that it's your fate. If you're going to be great at something, You need to be able to absorb and take on a certain degree of adversity in your life. Your job is not to escape it. Your job is to embrace it. And no matter the pain that comes from it, time will heal that pain, but the pain is needed as well. Because there's going to come a time where the pain is no longer there. You become numb to that. But out of that numbness, you become great, because no longer can that thing hold you down. It only made you stronger. But you don't know it. The process is painful. No one during the process likes it. When I'm in those processes, I didn't like it. I didn't like wearing that brace. I didn't like being made fun of. I didn't like being as dark as I was. I didn't like being chubby as a freshman at the whole gym making fun of me. I didn't like the fact that my dad transitioned. I didn't like the fact that my own aunt tried to poison me in 2018. I almost died, actually. I turned blue. She tried to poison me. I almost died. The doctor said if I wasn't healthy, if I was a person that was on drugs, that if I wasn't like lived a healthy life, I'd be dead right now. I wouldn't be here making this video with you guys. 2018. My mom said I turned blue. I was like almost gone. She had to do, thank God my mom was a nurse. She had to try to do CPR on me. My mouth was locked. So I couldn't even open my mouth. She couldn't even open my mouth to put air in it. She said I started to look like a skeleton. My own aunt, Nigerians out of jealousy, she's thinking that my dad, in that country, because the people are so riddled with ignorance, they feel like whenever somebody dies, it's always somebody that did witchcraft. So my aunt, who is supposed to be my dad's sister on my dad's side, who transitioned, she's under the impression that my mother is the one that killed my dad. So her thing is to try to get revenge and kill this. Like, it's weird. It's weird. And I don't want to let you, well, let me tell you how I got poisoned. I pretty much was getting ready to get married in 2018. And these spots on my face, my aunt was talking about, hey, I got something that could help your son out. Take these pills and take this medicine. It'll help clear up his face. It's proven to work. Take some vitamin C, take some glutathione. And she said some other drug that she said it was brought from Nigeria from this alleged doctor. And to make a long story short, man, that other drug, not the glutathione, not the vitamin C stuff, but that other drug, forgot the name of it, that almost killed me, man. It almost killed me. And this was around the time when my wife was pregnant, actually. So I wouldn't be here to see my daughter. I wouldn't be able to, my daughter wouldn't even have a dad right now. So I say that to say this, that all the things you go through in your life they're made. It depends on how you take it. And don't ever have the mentality of why me. Don't say why me. Say thank you. Use that adversity to propel you into something greater. Because as long as you're living and you're still breathing, that means that there's a reason why you're still here. And you're supposed to use that as a stepping stone, as a boost to catapult you into something greater. Why do I appreciate my kids and my wife so much? Because I could have died in 2018. Why am I the way I am? Because I saw the hard work that my parents went through. I saw how hard they worked. And growing up, my parents in the house, they would always talk about the way that quote unquote black people reason. They always wanted me to separate myself from them. They said, don't act like them. Don't wear your pants low like them. They act ignorant. They would say all these things about the melanated race, not knowing that I'm melanated as well. But there was a difference. I saw the difference in the way that a foreign African coming from the continent of Africa would act versus an American melanated person that's been here. But as I grew up and started to grow older, I started to understand that those certain stigmas that were being attached to melanated people here in America, what you guys would consider Black Americans, was not totally their fault. I start to study, I start to read. I'm like, we're powerful. as a race, we've gone through what we've gone through for a reason. My story is a microcosm of the melanated plight, of the melanated man's plight, or the melanated woman's plight, either or. It's to go through trials and tribulations and overcome them. Go through trials and tribulations, overcome them. Be empowered by making the choice not to hate. Even though people hate you, you make a choice not to hate and still love. No matter what you went through in the past, you still embrace your arms to your oppressor. Patience and long suffering. We could become great as a people, as a melanated race. There was a thumbnail, there was a picture that I saw online, and it had like over 50 nationalities. But they were all nationalities of people with skin like me, from Dominican Republic to South America to Brazil they were just naming all these different countries where people like with my skin reside. We're the kings and queens of the planet, but that's why we go through what we go through. And it's not that there's something wrong with the melanated people or the Black Americans that are here. I feel like we've been drugged from birth. I feel like we've been drugged by the foods we eat, by the toxins that are deliberately put inside those foods to tamper with our biochemistry, which tampers with our thinking. I believe that the melanated man and woman and child is malnourished. And when you're malnourished, it's not just something that affects the external. It affects the internal, and it affects your thinking. When you rob kids of certain minerals and vital nutrients, it's hard for them to concentrate in school. It's hard for them to stay still. When you pump kids full of sugar, because sugar is just as addictive as cocaine. Eric Clapton, I don't know if you guys know who Eric Clapton is. He was an artist. He said that before he was addicted to heroin, his addiction started with sugar. It's amazing how sugar and heroin have a correlation with each other. Our diet has ravaged the melanated genome. Because of our melanin component, our neurons bind to those synthetic agents. So we, as a race of people, are more susceptible to be destroyed by synthetic chemicals. The pale-skinned white man won't be affected as we are. They can eat sugar all day and eat bad foods. They can manage. We can't. Because from a biochemical perspective, we are different. So I say that to say this. There's nothing wrong with us. I just think that we need to wake up and start to realize that the social constructs of the world that we live in terms of the government, the governmental agencies, the local agencies, those things that are not put here for our good. It's our job to take the power back and start to think for ourselves and don't run with everybody else. When they said everybody go run and wear a mask, you should not wear that. I learned from a young age to be different. I learned from a young age not to run with everybody else. I learned from a young age not to act impulsively. I learned from a young age not to predicate my decisions off of fear. Fear hinders logic, especially when you allow that emotion to overwhelm you. Now, it's okay to have fear. It's good to have a healthy dose of fear because it's a self-preserving component of the human experience. You need to have a certain degree of fear not to put yourself in harm's way. However, you still need to be able not to allow fear to overcome your decisions. How can breathing be a bad thing? To cover up your breathing apparatus puts you in a hypoxic state. Hypoxia is when you have low oxygen levels. Low oxygen levels leads to low cellular function. Low cellular function leads to low brain function. Low brain function leads to your body not being able to actually thwart diseases or thwart any viruses off. So you end up making yourself sick by covering your breathing apparatus, thinking that you're stopping yourself from getting a certain virus that's lingering in the air. So anyway, that's how it works, folks. Embrace your trials. And even if you don't think you're a pretty, beautiful woman, it's okay. Embrace how you think of yourself. Work hard to make yourself become what you want to become. If you're a guy, you don't like your body, or you don't like the way you look, or you don't like something about yourself, if you can change it, then use the hate that you have for that thing to make you convert it into something you love. See, true love can't happen in a vacuum in and of itself. True love requires a healthy dose of hate in order for you to actually experience the true love of it. Because in order for you to love, you have to know what you hate. See, I hated myself growing up. I hated the way I looked. I got made fun of a lot. So what did that make me do? I just started to study to do other things that other people weren't doing. Because as I started to age, I saw how my friends and people that I knew started to look weird, like gain extra weight, look bad. I would look at their high school pictures, saw how youthful they looked. And I said, hey, hold on here. Why are we looking like this? There was a book in my mom's library. This is like years later. This is way after my dad transitioned. This was like in early 2000s. And I remember there was a book it was called Foods That Kill and Foods That Heal. I start to say, what? There are foods that can kill you? There are foods that can heal you? Oh, my journey began a long time ago. Now, I admit I haven't been a perfect eater. Even when I started then, I still had my proclivities to kind of dibble and dabble in things that I wasn't supposed to be eating. But for the most part, for my age group, at the age that I was then, I was a very disciplined eater. And now in my 40s, I am, shit. I'm a hermit. I'm an alien. People at work are like, do you ever eat? Are you ever hungry? I'm like, yeah, I eat when I'm hungry. If I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat. They say, oh, you do intermittent fasting. I said, I don't call it intermittent fasting. I just call it living. Like, I don't call anything that I do a specific diet. Because I think when you start giving names to something, you put a limitation on it. I don't call the way I live a lifestyle. I mean, I don't call my lifestyle, I don't put it in a box. Because when you start to put things in a box, it becomes something that could be interchangeable. This is just what I do. Like, I wake up and brush my teeth. That's not a diet. That's not a fad. I'm sure, what are they going to give it? Morning hygiene? Like, give it a classification, call it morning hygiene? No, that's what people do. That's what normal people do. You wake up and brush your teeth. That's just something normal people do. Like, if I have to take a dump, I go take a dump. That's a lifestyle. So the way I eat is a lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's just what I do, But yeah, man. All the things that I've been through, and I cut a lot short. I cut a lot short because I'm almost at an hour here. But I didn't go into great detail. But I was just pointing out some of the things that I can remember and giving you the synopsis of those events. But there were many more other things that happened to me, and I'll share those with you guys as I continue to make content. But yeah, that's what I went through. So don't feel. For those people who don't feel good about themselves, and yeah, it's okay. It's okay for you not to feel good about yourself. That means that there's something inside you that's trying to wake you up to do something about it. We're not born feeling good about ourselves. And anybody who is because they've been adorned with so much praise and compliments that it becomes fake. Why do you think those kids who were adorned with all the praise and accolades when they were younger, they grow up to be nothing? Because there's no incentive to try anymore. You've gotten everything that you wanted. There's no drive. There's no impulse within you to even strive to be greater. But when you come from nothing, from the mud, and all you've gotten was just, you feel like you've gotten the short end of the stick all your life, be angry. Hate that. And let that hate drive you to be great. It's not fun for me to wake up at 3:45 in the morning to go to the gym, but I'm going to take care of myself before I take care of my kids. People say, hey, no, that's selfish. You're supposed to put your kids first. No, I'm not. I'm supposed to put myself first. Because if I don't put myself first, how the hell can I take care of my kids? Because I have kids, I have to wake up that early. Most people make the excuse, I got kids, I got work, I don't have time to work out. Yeah, you do. You can make time to work out if it's that important to you. Wake up at 3:45. I get ready. I stretch, brush my teeth, get my clothes ready, get all that stuff ready, go to the gym. Opens at 5. Work out, go to work, come home. I want to be able to play with my kids as they get older. I'm not a young father. I didn't start having kids in my 20s. I started having kids in my late 30s. All right? So, and I tell my daughter that, my little daughter, like, Daddy, are you going to the gym again? I say, yeah, you'll understand when you get older and you start to see your friends' parents look the way they do, you'll see why your dad looks different from them. Because the amount of energy you put into something is exactly what you're going to get out of it. All right? If you don't put energy into your health is your wealth. It's not your bank account. Your bank account is nothing but a digital number. That doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. It's just, excuse my French, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just a digital number. But what means something is you, your temple, keeping your brain, your temple, what resides in your brain. And you have to nourish your brain with healthy foods. Try your best, guys. There's too many. There's too much information online, folks. And I'm not going to sit up here and give you. I'm not a nutritionist, but I can give you nutritional facts, but I'm not going to do that. There's many YouTube channels on how to eat properly. Dr. Berg is one of them. There's so many doctors online that are teaching you how to eat properly. It's almost, but I know it's tough, right? Because you walk into a grocery store, you think that you could get anything you want. No, even going to get your food it's warfare. You have to look for the things that are good. But I would encourage everyone to stay in the produce section. Eat as much vegetables and fruit as you can. Please do. Foods from the earth are medicine, folks. I've seen it work personally in my own life. I've seen it. So, yeah. There are many times that, I'll be honest with you guys, there are many times that I've always wanted to like begin doing, do videos, like, but you know what stopped me? I was like, man, I don't like my face. I don't like all the spots on my face. I look ugly. I don't want to make the video. People are going to be looking, but I had to get over that. I'm like, man, screw it, man. I mean, who am I trying to impress? I'm a married man with 3 kids, man. Like, and the way I look on camera right now, if you see me in person, I don't even look like this. Like, I remember my wife on this, she was like, I don't even see these spots you talk about. I'm like, what do you mean you don't see them? But maybe it's in my head. Maybe I'm so focused on them that that's all I see. But sometimes you can have such a beautiful personality. You can be a beautiful person. I really mean this. I'm not trying to be all like mushy and all that stuff, but I'm really being honest with you guys. You can meet somebody who may not be the most attractive person in terms of what the world deems to be attractive, right? Because I guess being attractive is all subjective based upon the eye of the beholder. But you can see somebody who may not be attractive to many people's standards, but because of their character, because of the way they carry themselves, the confidence that they have, it makes them beautiful. So I think maybe that's perhaps what my wife sees in me, because I don't think that I'm a handsome man, but she sees a quality. She's a quality man. She sees a man who's passionate, who cares, who's very assertive and courteous, who loves her and respects her. So she's like, hey, he's a handsome man to me. He's my man. So if you don't think that you're an attractive woman or a man, work on other parts of you, but work on the things that you can change. All right? Work on the things you can change to become a better person. Don't be the shallow person that's good looking, that doesn't have anything else to bring to the table in terms of your value, in terms of what you can provide to a man or a woman. You know, try your hardest to go against the grain of what the norm is. And if you're a woman that loves to just beautify yourself, get your hair done every 2 weeks and your nails, get your hands dirty in the kitchen one day for your man. You'd be amazed. There's certain people who have this perception of women who are beautiful, who say things to the fact that, oh, she's too pretty to be in the kitchen. No one's too pretty to be in the kitchen. And no man is too handsome to get his hands dirty. I think that when you can be multifaceted, it makes you a more well-rounded person. You can't be too good for anything. You can't be too much to exclude yourself from putting yourself into a situation. Like, I can't be such a traditionalist. I'm saying I'm never going to get in the kitchen and cook. My wife is supposed to be in the kitchen and cooking all the time. No, I cook sometimes. There's nothing wrong with cooking. It doesn't emasculate me. I'm confident and secure in my masculinity. I don't care. All right. So that's my spiel, man. I know I was on a rant, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of insight as to who I am and why I think the way I think. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. If you stayed long enough to listen to this message for over an hour, but I really appreciate it, guys. I'm going to continue to put out content, and thank you guys for listening. All right, bye.